If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
Speed. I am speed. Okay, here we go. Focus.
Car narration.
Except that's not narration, it's a voiceover. Lightning is speaking to himself, trying to pump himself up for the upcoming race. You would think with the amount of times you've pointed out narration, you'd have at least known what it was.
Okay, I get that he's a race car, but he lives in a world where the cars are living things. So why would race cars ever spend time in a dark trailer waiting for some big reveal like a human world race car?
You obviously don't get that he's a race car, especially asking questions like this. Race cars are different from regular cars in significant ways. A race car usually doesn't have legal bumpers, are far too low to safely drive on public roads, and have racing slicks that are for specially prepared tracks and are incredibly unsafe on regular roads. Therefore, race cars are usually transported in trucks or on trailers.
Are the helicopters anthropomorphic, or are there cars inside the helicopters flying them? And if these helicopters are on their own, why isn't there a whole world full of them having helicopter races?
I get that you have trouble processing that there are other things in a movie called cars, but yes, the helicopters are also anthropomorphic as demonstrated by the existence of rotor. As for your second question, you have assumed there aren't helicopter races in this world, but the mistake you're making is not realizing this movie is called Cars. In other words, that's the subject of the film. Why would you expect helicopter races?
Also, I see Dinoco still exists in the living race car world, even though this is a completely different world than the one in Toy Story.
Okay, and? Ever heard of an Easter egg? Or the multiverse?
And this race, this is no different than a 10,000 meter foot race, right? Why would an event such as running be such a big sport in this world?
Are you serious right now? You just equated motorsport racing to running, which I would agree is an apt comparison considering these cars are alive. But you then go on to ask, why would running be such a big sport in this world? Fam, the Olympics exists in the real world, and the sprints are arguably the best part.
Also, if every part of these cars are actual living appendages and need to be changed periodically, like the tires, it really starts to make you ponder the question, if I replace all the parts of an old car, is it the same old car, or is it a new car?
Sinning the ship of Theseus.
Separate men and women's bathrooms open up the question as to what makes a car male or female, and how car sex works.
But we already know the answer. It depends on which side the gas cap is on. Electric cars are gender fluid.
Also, shouldn't this sexist joke about this long line of women cars be the other way around? Or am I being sexist thinking it should be another way? F it.
Why would it be the other way around? This sin makes no sense other than you wanted to make an empty platitude. It's weird to me how people can see sexism in things that are literally true. The women's restroom almost always has a line outside of it, and that's due to a variety of anatomical and hygienic reasons. Hell, the kind of clothing women wear can affect this too. Ever tried to pee while wearing a romper?
Also, because even female cars take so much longer in the bathroom than men, am I right? Wait, what are these cars even going to the bathroom for? Oil changes? Top-offs? This long line makes no sense.
Jeremy, this is a cartoon that has anthropomorphized vehicles. Cars also don't have lungs or a larynx, so them being able to speak should also be impossible. You always seem to draw the line arbitrarily, and it's that inconsistency that makes your videos sinful as shit.
I'm Bob Cutlass, here with my good friend Daryl Cartrip.
Get it? It's just like the Flintstones for cars.
This man sat down to watch a Pixar movie called Cars and is upset at the premise. Who does this? I don't go into a movie like this and not expect everything to revolve around car references. That's like going into a live-action Sony comic book movie and expecting it to be good. You just don't do that.
This race also brings into question why there are nothing but male cars driving in it. Are male cars inherently faster than female cars? What kind of bull is that?
Why is that the assumption you make instead of the feminine car simply didn't qualify for this particular race? Maybe they were in the previous qualifying races but simply lost before the Piston Cup. It could also be that, due to the implied anatomical differences between the male and female cars vis-a-vis the separated bathrooms, there are separate divisions based on gender. Since these cars are anthropomorphized, it would make sense as we separate sports based on gender in the real world.
There's no way the rookie can make it through. Not in one piece, that is.
Daryl Cartrip would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Well, considering he was absolutely wrong, yeah, I'd say he'd fit in at CinemaSins quite nicely.
This maneuver is total bullshit, but if this really is a race like Daytona or something like that, this mega wreck would cause a delay or a stoppage that would freeze the action until it got sorted out.
It's a good thing this is a fictional world where this race isn't like Daytona, huh? You also cut out the part of the film that shows there was a yellow flag and the pace car coming out to pause the race.
He's not pitting!
Wait, you're saying everyone pitted at the 215-mile mark except McQueen, and he's still somehow in the lead 80 laps later without pitting, and his car hasn't broken down?
See, now you're just lying. Lightning does pit, except he only pits for gas.
We need tires now! Come on, let's go! No tires, just gas! You need tires, you idiot!
This comes back to bite him in the bumper later because he pops a tire. What I'm saying is, what you're saying didn't happen actually happened in the film.
Cars should not have tongues, but whatever. Even if they did, the tongue extension should not count in this automobile race.
Consider the running analogy we made earlier. Runners almost always dip their heads forward when they reach the finish line because what matters is when their torso breaks the plane. Lightning's tongue is a part of his body in much the same way. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
We're like your biggest fans! Ka-chow!
That's a headlight joke right there.
I think the only reason you're sitting this is because they weren't actual tits.
Piston Cup officials have determined that a tiebreaker race between the three leaders will be held in California in 1 week.
Hope you didn't have plans.
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
Also, why not just f***ing race right now? And why is that gotta take place in California?
You literally just made the case that the tiebreaker is on too short a notice. How do you not realize this also applies to the patrons who are currently watching this race that ended when it was expected to end?
Don't drive like my brother!
Oh yeah, don't drive like my brother!
This click and clack cameo is now sad since one of them died. Nice going, Pixar. Thanks, Obama.
The sin here is that Pixar hired mortal actors to do the voices of characters in a movie. You do realize every actor in this movie will eventually die, right?
Instead of a moonroof allowing him to see the stars, this truck has a digital ceiling, allowing him to see the stars, while also wasting a lot more energy. Sweet!
CinemaSins doesn't know about daytime. Also, CinemaSins sends Rolls Royce.
I get what you're going for here with the hustle and bustle of life, but is there any highway in the US with this much f***ery of exits and entrance ramps going on?
Jeremy has never been to California. Yes, this is what our interchanges look like.
By the way, this car getting a ride from a truck doesn't endear me much to Lightning McQueen, but I'm already having trouble figuring out why I should root for this guy since he's been nothing but an asshole since the movie started.
It's amazing to me that a channel that bills itself as a critic of cinema has never encountered the incredibly common trope of a protagonist learning humility. Have you never seen Iron Man? A Christmas Carol? Hell, Pixar's own Toy Story?
The Fast and the Curious. Well, in order for this movie to happen, it needs the truck to fall asleep, the asshat neon cars to push the truck into the rumble strips, and the rumble strips to cause a bobblehead to fall and open the back door.
Well, yeah. If none of that happened, we wouldn't have a movie. If an egg were never broken, you wouldn't have an omelet. What are you even saying here?
Mac!
Aren't nearly all these trucks named Mac? Because if they aren't, that's some bullshit and I don't like it.
This was a dumb sin, but Jeremy's delivery made me laugh, so I'll neither add a sin nor remove one.
After driving along thinking every semi he sees is Mac, Lightning makes the crazy decision to pinpoint Mac's identity to this one exiting semi, because story. I mean, think about it, Lightning. Why would Mac be getting off the highway to California at a lonely exit offering no truck stops or gasoline or anything? The entire movie hinges on this terrible split-second decision made by Lightning.
Again, Lightning is a race car. He would have no way of knowing the way to California considering he always travels inside of Mac, so questioning his logic here is disingenuous. Think of literally any movie where a rich and pampered person is left to fend for themselves.
So, remember the movie Doc Hollywood? Michael J. Fox played a doctor who had a big interview at the plastic surgery office and he had car trouble and got stuck in a small town and saw Julie Warner's boobs. This movie is Doc Hollywood dressed up as an animated race car flick and no boobies, unless you count that headlight scene, which I don't.
I told you guys he was mad about the lack of tits.
I'm for a good pun, just like anybody, but breaking news? As in news that's so important you break for it? How do we reconcile that?
That's an incredibly clever pun. You somehow explained it and still don't get it. That's a skill.
You're all aware of our town's proud history.
Here she goes again.
Again? Do you have regular court sessions in this tiny-ass podunk town? Enough that she's given this speech before? I don't think so, is what I'm saying.
When presented with evidence that they do, CinemaSins somehow claims they don't. For reasons.
The only guy strong enough to fix that road is Big Al.
Oh, he can do it. He's got the horsepower.
Yeah, but not the actual towing capacity. If you think a race car is going to lug some giant tar rig, then you guys are living in a cartoon.
The only person living in a cartoon is you. This entire film is an analogy. It's the rich city boy slumming it with the simple folk, learning how to be a better person. The fact that Lightning struggles with towing Bessie is to your point, but apparently you missed that and still send the film anyway.
Oh man, you get to work with Bessie. I'd give him a left two lug nuts or something like that.
The whole movie is filled with like this. Also, in 2006, this was right around the time you thought, man, Pixar has a perfect record. They may lose that perfect record. Why, Cars? Why?
Come on, it wasn't until Cars 2 that Pixar's perfect record got tarnished. But 24 out of 25 are Michael Phelps numbers.
After an attempted getaway, Lightning runs out of gas at the exact spot the cop and district attorney are inexplicably waiting to taunt him.
Because, as they explained in this scene, they siphoned his gas specifically so that he couldn't run away. As they are cars, I would assume they know exactly when and where he'd run out of gas.
They just dart around this massive road damage as though it's a puddle, paying it no attention whatsoever, thereby kind of proving Lightning's point about how little the pavement damage really matters.
Radiator Springs is a dying town. They survive on the rare occasion tourists pass through. That being the case, they need to at least appear their best to attract customers, at least in their mind. I could make the case the only reason these two don't notice the damage is because they're lost, the green one is being an asshole refusing to ask for directions, and the Porsche is distracting them.
Movie wastes time with a Lightning McQueen nightmare where Chick Hicks gets the Dynaco sponsorship, something we don't give a about right now because Lightning has been nothing but a big asshole this whole movie. We like Chick better than this dude, so it seems like a good fantasy to us.
Just like Mr. Potato Head asked, did you take stupid pills this morning? You specifically send Chick for being an asshole and causing a huge wreck in Sin 15.
10 yards, unsportsmanlike conduct.
The most Lightning has done is be a little on the arrogant side and hit on a Porsche. I mean, I'm a Corvette man myself, but Porsches have always had the engine in the back, if you know what I'm saying.
Then why don't we just have a little race, me and you?
This guy is super flexible on applying the law after spending the first half of the movie being super stringent about it.
What do you even think that means? The race Doc is talking about will be on a track. You know, the place cars are legally allowed to race. And I wouldn't call him super stringent at all. He was about to let McQueen go simply because he was a race car, and Sally convinced him not to.
Wait, are those tire tracks in the sky? They have flying vehicles that make normal smoke, right?
I have absolutely no problem with your point about these being tracks, because they have air vehicles. Where I have an issue is you referring to this as smoke. Son, these are condensation trails, not smoke.
Uno Lapo.
That is racist. By the way, nearly an hour in, and this guy is still a terrible person.
Dang, here I thought Italian was a nationality, not a race. But the forklift literally only speaks Italian, and Spanish and Italian have a little overlap considering they are both Latin derivative languages. Being an American, McQueen's best chance at communication is to try some broken Spanish and see if they understand. But again, even if you want to call him an asshole for this, this is how he is characterized. He will literally change by the end of the film because that's what a character arc is. I mean, your complaint is that the character doesn't start off perfect.
Mama ain't seen you that low in years.
I haven't seen a road like this in years.
Do these cars really never go anywhere? I mean, what's the point of being a car?
Again, this film is an analogy. You know, your feet can pretty much take you anywhere that isn't separated by a large body of water. That being the case, you mean to tell me you've never heard of people never leaving their city or state?
Tractor tipping's fun.
Oh, come on. What kind of bullshit am I watching right now?
A hilarious and heartwarming family film set in a world ruled by automobiles. You know, a Pixar joint.
You're in love with Miss Sally.
Wait, did something happen in this movie that would make a love story possible? Have they spoken more than 50 words to each other?
Lightning literally hit on Sally in her first scene. Of course he likes her. You think a man needs more than 50 words to know if he likes a woman? I mean, a Porsche?
Hey, stickers.
How did Lightning turn all the way around in this thing?
He asks while literally showing Lightning making a damn near 180-degree jump.
Lightning kicks this can, which causes a noise, which leads him to investigating and finding out Doc's racing past, which makes that the most plot-convenient can that ever existed in a movie.
But Jeremy, everything that happens in a movie is plot-convenient. Except Mumblecore. Nothing of importance ever happens in that insufferable bullshit.
He won 3 Piston Cups.
He did what in his cup?
2 sins. One for sending a really good dirty joke, and another for being upset you didn't come up with it first. That's right out of your playbook, CinemaSins.
Back then, cars came across the country a whole different way.
Is Jessie about to sing When She Loved Me? Because I can totally come back in 3 minutes or so if that's going to happen.
Jeremy, unaware that he would become the thing he swore to destroy.
They spend so much time on showing this turn in the movie, there must be one exactly like it at the Piston Cup track. Luckily for Lightning, he's got someone who can show him how to do it. Something tells me this would have been no issue at all if Lightning had made it to California as planned, but because he's stuck here, learning this turn suddenly became the most important thing ever, even though his real problem so far was that he didn't change his tires and he was a dick to his crew.
Pretty much everything you said was wrong. Firstly, there is no turn just like this at the track in Los Angeles. That track is an oval track, like most other stock car tracks, so it's less about turns and more about endurance. And second, if Lightning didn't land in Radiator Springs, he would have assuredly lost that race because Chick is a dirty racer and would have forced him into the infield regardless.
When I finally got put together, I went back expecting a big welcome. You know what they said? your history.
I have never known a time in sports history when an athlete was still in his prime and got completely ignored just because that person suffered a season-ending injury. You probably still have an owner who would pay for Babe Ruth to be on their team if they could afford the exhuming costs.
Is that why Isaiah Thomas was on 10-day contracts?
What did Luigi tell you, eh?
Wow, you were right. Better than a Ferrari, huh?
The message of the next montage is that if you buy a whole bunch of stuff, you are suddenly a good person.
Capitalism.
It's over. While the world's been trying to find you, Dynaco has had no one to woo.
Lightning's been gone for nearly a week, and the damage is done, and he already knew Dynaco was wooing Chick, but is suddenly motivated to get that stupid sponsorship again because his agent tells him this stuff he already knows.
I'm just wondering, why in the helium are you sending the UK version of this film? Jeremy Piven is the agent in our version. Jeremy Clarkson doesn't make sense considering he hates American cars.
Out of radiation stinks now, or Dynaco is history, seriously.
Did this Pixar movie really need Jeremy Piven doing his entourage agent shtick? They really made this movie from spare parts, didn't they? Pun intended. F*** it.
Wait, what? Now you said Piven, even though that's clearly Clarkson in your video. Either you're completely baked, or you're trying to point out that this film pulled a Harry Potter.
Of course! Here it is! Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Sorcerer's Stone. Of course, here it is! Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone.
In fact, the country is almost shut down.
This country would never shut down or even almost shut down for a fucking NASCAR race.
But the movie said it did.
Flashback Fantasy does not contain a 2.5-mile lap dance.
Note, Jeremy was trying to point out sexism in this video earlier. I know because I called them out on it 5 years ago in their comments section, a whole year before I started this series.
So remember all that time the movie spent with that turn? Finally gets its moment to shine here. But one question, how is Lightning an expert at it after failing 1,000,000 times and seeing Doc do it once?
I'm not sure the movie is saying he's an expert at the maneuver, just that he pulled it off. Even if they were saying he's an expert, you just said he'd been practicing it, and then he saw someone do it. Some of us learn by watching and some learn by doing. McQueen is the former.
Also, I'm glad McQueen finally learns and understands the go hard enough left you'll find yourself going right lesson. Truly I am. But isn't he cheating his ass off by utterly shortcutting this track by running through the grass?
No. Lightning didn't purposefully cut through the infield. He was sent there as a result of an impact. If he can get his car back on the track without crashing, it would still be legal for him to continue the race. This happened in real life back in 1987 with Dale Earnhardt in what became known as the pass in the grass.
Turn 4. And Earnhardt loses it, goes on the grass, comes back, and Elliott goes inside. And Earnhardt still got the lead. Incredible.
But I didn't win.
Lightning, there's a whole lot more to racing than just winning.
Name one thing.
Helping your teammate win.
Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
I'm happy in a tornado in a trailer park.
That's racist.
That's also a sentient helicopter, something you asked about at the beginning of this video.
Hey, I'm back. Want to see my car penis?
Jeremy says crankshaft.
It took 6 writers, including a writing team, to write this movie. Yeah, this movie.
Irony.
You are a toy car!
Disney gives itself ideas for future cash grab remakes whenever this Marvel thing inevitably crashes and burns.
I know they made this video in 2016, but man, it's fun to point out how wrong people in the past were. In the time since this video came out, Homecoming, Black Panther, Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Far From Home all came out, with each of them making at least $800 million. Heck, 2 of them made over $2 billion. It's almost like the guy that thought Batman v Superman would outgrow Civil War doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Marvel.